not as certain these days. So we have to go back and look at our European.
Hello and welcome. I'm Kriti Mehta and you're watching the World Report on NewsX World. Let's start with a check of the top headlines this hour. The United States has carried out strikes against 3 vessels in international waters that were suspected of narco trafficking. According to the U.S. Southern Command, the vessels were traveling as a convoy. U.S. President Donald Trump has announced the withdrawal of National Guard troops from Portland, Chicago and Los Angeles, hints at stronger comeback in the future. Russian President Vladimir Putin voiced his confidence on victory in Ukraine, while his Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky warned that peace cannot come at any cost in their respective New Year's addresses to their countries. Ex-world champion boxer Anthony Joshua has been released from a hospital in Lagos in Nigeria after being treated for injuries sustained in a car crash that killed 2 others. Separatists from Yemen's Southern and Transitional Council announced an agreement to deploy government forces in areas that have recently been seized. Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te vows to defend the democratic island sovereignty in a New Year's speech after China carried out military drills. Lai said he will steadfastly defend national sovereignty in a televised address from the presidential office. The U.S. government has granted an annual license to Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing to import U.S. chip manufacturing equipment to its facilities in Nanjing and China, as per the chip maker. Elon Musk's brain implant company Neuralink will start high-volume production of brain computer interface devices and move to an entirely automated surgical procedure in 2026, as per a social media post. Let's start with some news from Taiwan. Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te has said that the island is determined to defend its sovereignty and boost its defense in the face of China's increasing expansion after Beijing fired rockets towards the island as part of military drills. Lai's speech came just 2 days after the Chinese exercises named Justice Mission 2025. China fired dozens of rockets towards Taiwan and deployed a large number of warships and aircraft near the island in a show of force. The drills drew concern from Western allies, including the European Commission and Britain. Let's listen in to what the Taiwanese president has said.
今年的第一天，我也要再次呼吁，面对中国严峻的军事野心，台湾没有时间等待，更没有时间内耗。我们可以对许多议题有不同的看法，但没有强韧的国防，就不会有国家，更不会有我们彼此争辩的空间。这应该是要不分党派的全民共识，期盼朝野携手合作，顺利让重要的国防预算赶紧通。所以，投资国防就等于在投资和平。这一次中国的军演，我们可以看得到。解放军演习的科目里面有特别针对台湾新增的战力作为假想敌来演练，就可以看得出来，我们这一次军演军购的项目对台湾的国防安全是必要的。那这一笔国防预算对台湾向国际社会展现守护国家决心、维护区域和平发展也是。
Joining me in this discussion now is Collins Chong-Yu-Keat. He's a foreign affairs and security and strategy analyst. Joins us from Kuala Lumpur. Thank you very much, Collins, for joining us, and a very happy New Year to you on behalf of NewsX World. Collins, indeed, a very strong.
Happy New Year to you too.
Thank you. A very strong statement coming in from Taiwanese president. A message clearly to China.
Yes, we have seen how these measures that have been employed by Beijing, they are meant to, of course, increase pressure on Taiwan to deter, the forces of separatism, according to Beijing. to wear down public resolve, to increase security fatigue on the side of Taiwan, and of course also to force Taiwan into this defensive strategic posture. But the responses from Taiwan have been measured. There have been the responses have signaled towards this capacity of resilience rather than reaction. So in the terms of psychological resilience, institutional continuity, a measure of calmness, and of course also an international signaling that this is on it is measured on a measured response from Taiwan rather than military posturing. So we've seen how Taipei has managed to avoid overreacting militarily to prevent this trap of escalation, or to legitimize the PRA military presence as a normal response action. So this shows that Taiwan understands the conflict from the framework of political strategic reaction rather than military reaction, and as has been the case for the past couple of years now. But this implies that these coercive measures, this salami slicing approach, gray zone coercive measures employed by Beijing, risk actually increasing the pretext for regional stakeholders to be involved more on the case of Taiwan, in the case of Japan and Philippines, and giving more measures to Washington that this actually has this compelling need for Washington to increase its own supportive measures on the side of Taiwan. So this is a highly it's a risky move by Beijing in doing these coercive measures, because it signals that Beijing has this all hands on deck approach on defending Taiwan, but also this escalates the tensions in the region, and actually it also legitimizes what Takaichi has said before this, that Beijing's actions have been destabilizing, and it provides this compelling need for Tokyo to also equate Taiwan's security on the security of Japan as a whole. So this is exactly what has happened now, and give this legitimacy to Takaichi's bold new approach. And I foresee that in the weeks to come, Taiwan will continue to remain measured and calm, as it has always been for the past many years now, and that it reflects badly on Beijing in the first place.
Yeah. And Collins, how do you view China's statement that, it's saying that it must now forcefully counter the US over the Taiwan question?
Well, this is another rhetoric, to test the potential responses by the Trump administration. And as much as we have foreseen now, the Trump administration has not wavered too much from the conventional norm of strategic ambiguity. And Trump himself has not stated explicitly that he will come to the defense of Taiwan. Of course, also to continue the momentum of trying to build renewed economic relations with Beijing, and that but still it gives this wariness and worry on the side of Beijing that he has no room or capacity to maneuver further, and knowing that there's no tolerance by Trump on any potential future conflict, especially on Taiwan, and that as I've stated before, there's no scenario where President Xi will be compelled to use force on Taiwan for the next 3 or 4 years, as long as Trump is still in charge. And this is yet another measure to be used as a tool to pressure Washington on the sidelines of other topics of contention, especially regards to tariff and the control over technological chips and all that. But Taiwan will still be used by both sides, especially by Beijing, to pressure Washington into having this greater leverage on dictating the next move forward on their bilateral ties.
All right, Collins, just stay on with me as we proceed. There's some more news coming in. Now, viewers, speaking during the New Year's Eve address, French President Emmanuel Macron has confirmed that Paris will hold a high-level meeting on January 6th, next week, which will bring together members of the so-called Coalition of the Willing. This group is led by France and Britain and includes more than 30 countries backing Ukraine. Let's hear him.
Ça a longtemps été un débat. Elle a commencé de se faire et en 2026, cela accélérera. Dès le 6 janvier prochain, à Paris, de nombreux États européens et alliés prendront des engagements concrets pour protéger l'Ukraine et assurer une paix juste et durable sur notre continent.
The talks are expected to focus on long-term security guarantees, including continued military support for Ukraine. European Union leaders can also discuss the possibility of a European-led peacekeeping force and also assurances of action if Ukraine faces renewed aggression. The meeting comes as Kyiv faces growing pressure from US President Trump's administration to make concessions to Moscow to secure an agreement. Meanwhile, European allies insist that any settlement must include strong security guarantees backed by US support to prevent future conflict. And I request Collins to join me back in the discussion here. Collins, some of the, two of the main issues that remain as a concern for Zelensky is the peacekeeping force and the security guarantees. Do you see the European Union to accede these to Ukraine, especially the coalition of the willing?
Ukraine is trying to get the security guarantee from President Trump, looking, for up to almost 15 years of security guarantee for Ukraine. But, this also, is being viewed by Ukraine, with increasing wariness, because it remains to be seen how, determined that will be under different political leaderships after Trump. And, Europe tries to step in and to fill the gap. The shift is from reactive aid now to a more structured long-term security planning. So by guaranteeing Ukraine's survivability over multiple years, this suggests that Europe is trying to accept that this war might be protracted in nature, and that there will be no near-term decisive breakthrough, and that and also the notion that U.S. priorities might fluctuate over different presidencies, where different election cycles might disrupt commitment of aid and military support to Ukraine, or this notion of strategic ambiguity will grow. And of course, France is trying to take the lead here in terms of dictating the responses by Europe. And of course, this marks a decisive shift towards European strategic autonomy in war sustainment capacity. But again, Ukraine is also, in a strategic dilemma now, trying to see whether, of course, the capacity to defend Ukraine, the capacity to ensure Ukraine's long-term security guarantee will ultimately lie within the support from Washington. That is the ultimate deterrence capacity that, that cannot be simply, sustained by Europe in terms of hard power capacity alone. And this is where we have seen now Ukraine is trying to get the best of both worlds from the US and from Europe, and trying to guarantee these hard critical protection layers in terms of, air defense, in terms of energy infrastructure shielding, and of course also stopping short of, trying to this issue being used as a pretext by Moscow, to increase, Moscow's, military, strikes, or having this greater, wartime capacity on Ukraine, taking advantage of how Ukraine is trying to get this increased security guarantee from Europe. But, moving forward, we have seen how France is trying to seek greater leadership, where, at the time where, other European powers have also grown wary of giving more, support to Ukraine. Germany is getting more cautious now. NATO is politically constrained now. Eastern Europe is also frustrated by the slow coordination. And of course, we have seen how this a fragmentized approach on the part of Ukraine. But France is trying to step up this regard.
Yeah. Now, Collins, Putin has said time and again that Europe probably wants a war with Russia now. Then there were also strikes on Novgorod residence of Putin. How do you think the European Union moving ahead to assure these guarantees and peacekeeping force for Ukraine is going to affect the peace dialogue? Because so far Russia has not budged from its demands at all. And from what I suspect, it's only going to worsen the situation.
Yes, definitely. We have seen how, Putin's recent statements have also indicated that, Moscow is ready for war with Europe if Europe wants to. And, this also boils down to the fact that how, the intent of Europe as a whole, to come to the defense of Ukraine and to stay within the limits of providing this security guarantee to Ukraine without further provoking or giving these, tools or pretext to Russia, to be seen as, trying to create a new conflict with Russia. And Moscow reads this shift as as proof that the West is preparing for long-term confrontation, and this might be viewed negatively on the side of Moscow rather than negotiating from on the weaker side. So this may harden Russia's own war posture and readiness and capacity for Moscow to have this kind of a more protracted conflict and in Ukraine as well with Europe. And this is a highly risky move if it's not managed well, and to be seen negatively on the side of Russia. So we have seen how the importance of the U.S. now, especially under President Trump's policy to rein in the maybe a misplaced priority on Europe and to ensure that the peace process remains in place and that the ultimate immediate priority now is to maintain the strategic need for all sides to come to the agreement that peace must be the ultimate goal here and not further provocations that might again have this continuation of the almost 5 years war now. So it means it is again important for Trump to balance the intent of Europe and to rein in also the need for Zelensky and Ukraine as a whole on the side of the policy makers now to see that peace is the only outcome that is of urgent need for now for all sides.
All right. Thanks, and Collins, for joining me in this discussion and weighing in your opinion. And let's proceed now, viewers. There's news now coming in also from the European Union. Bulgaria has become the 21st country to switch to the euro as it entered the new year, a milestone met with both cheers and fears. Nearly 20 years after the Balkan nation joined the European Union, Bulgaria has abandoned the lev used since the late 1800s as euro coins were projected onto the central bank building. The successive governments of Bulgaria, with the population of around 6.4 to 6.7 million, have backed euro adoption to lift the European Union's poorest economy and strengthen Western ties to counter the Russian influence. All right. I'm now joined in by retired Major General Dr. Rajan Kochhar. He's an international relations expert from New Delhi. Thank you very much, Dr. Kochhar, for joining us this morning. We wish you a very happy new year. Dr. Kochhar, how do you see Russia responding to Bulgaria joining the euro now after all these years?
Good morning, Kirti, and wishing you a very, very happy new year and to the entire team of NewsX World. Bulgaria is, I think, this is a landmark decision by Bulgaria after 2007. They were part of the European Union since 2007, and it marks a significant economic and a political milestone, consolidating its integration into the European Union core monetary architecture. So, starting from that, Bulgaria, as you would be aware, actually operated a very strict currency board since 1997, and now de facto monetary sovereignty was actually constrained, but now with this actually adoption, it becomes a new reality for them. Convergence and credibility are these two important words to be remembered here, because meeting Maastricht criteria here, particularly inflation discipline and fiscal prudence, signifies a policy credential after the years of delay driven by governance and corruption concerns. And it's also a geopolitical signaling at the same time, because we are aware of the tension between European Union and Russia as of now, and the instability in the wider Black Sea and the Balkan region. So a euro adoption is a clear westward anchor, reinforcing Bulgaria's strategic alignment with Brussels. So I think coming now to the economic implications, there are going to be a lower transaction costs and risk premiums, because a euro adoption risks borrowing costs, reduces the currency risk and improves the investor confidence. So I think it would be relevant to Bulgaria with regard to the foreign direct investment into Bulgaria now. Financial stability, we see a financial stability also now coming in because access to the ECB toolkit and a closer integration with the European Union banking mechanisms and from the political and the institutional effect, I think Bulgaria will move closer to the European Union inner circle, strengthening its voice in the Eurogroup deliberations and the EU economic governance, and domestically also, it will have a great impact on rule of law and institutional capacity, and I think public sentiment also will get affected. So I think overall it is a very, very prudent step which Bulgaria has taken now.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is that a strategic consolidation of Bulgaria into the European Union now, and the macroeconomic discipline will also get stronger now as far as Bulgaria is concerned. Sustained growth, institutional reforms, and social acceptance, I think, are the three buzzwords which will get positively impacted.
But given the political turmoil that's there in the country, like you mentioned, governance issues and corruption, and also the fact that the country is basically divided on the question of the currency, how easy do you think is going to be this transition?
I think it's not going to be easy because the real test actually lies ahead, because translating this monetary integration into sustained growth and social acceptance, because whenever we have seen, whenever you bring out a change, in certain quarters of the country, there would be a resistance to change also, because they are used to a particular mechanism of working, and now you bring in the euro because there is a change in currency, and whenever the people get into a kind of a monetary transaction. So I think it will be a challenge, as you said that, and let's see. But I think in my final analysis, I would presume that the people will accept this change quite well. It may take some time, but the acceptance will come.
All right, then thank you very much, Dr. Kocher, for joining me this morning. And with that, viewers, let's tell you some more news now. British heavyweight boxer Anthony Joshua has been discharged from hospital in Nigeria days after a car crash killed two of his close friends. 36-year-old former world champion was a passenger in a Lexus SUV that collided with a stationary truck on an expressway in Ogun State near Lagos. The two men who died were Joshua's longtime friends and team members, Sina Gami and Latif Lats Ayodel. Gami had worked with Joshua as a sport and rehabilitation coach for over 10 years. After leaving the hospital on Wednesday, Joshua visited the funeral home where his friends' bodies were being prepared for repatriation. Promoter Eddie Hahn paid tribute to Gami and Ayodel, remembering their loyalty, energy, and impact on Joshua's career, while offering prayers for their families and for Joshua during this difficult time. Alright, viewers, let's also give you some science and tech news before we wrap up the bulletin. Now, Elon Musk's company Neuralink will begin high-volume production of brain-computer implants in 2026. The company plans to move to a fully automated surgical procedure for implantation. The implants are designed to help people with conditions like spinal cord injuries. And the first patient has used the device to play video games, browse the internet, post on social media, and move a computer cursor. Neuralink began human trials in 2024 after addressing safety concerns raised by the FDA. By September last year, 12 people with severe paralysis had received the implant and used it to control digital and physical tools through thought. Now, the company also raised $650 million in funding to support development and expansion. And that's a wrap on this edition of the World Report. But do keep watching NewsX World for all international news and updates.